Hey everybody, May is Foster Care Awareness Month, and there's a lot of content that I'm going to be sharing with you. And if you've been around for a while, some of the topics may sound familiar, but I really want to show the full foster care journey from start to finish. But actually, it's never really finished. You just kind of keep going with it. But I'm doing this in hopes of giving people a clear picture of what to expect and honestly just where to go. And whether you're new to the channel and just now subscribing, or you've been with us since the beginning, I hope you find all the content super helpful. This video in particular is going to talk about why we started fostering in the first place, and also how you can get started if it's something that you're interested in. But before we jump into that topic, I have a couple of pieces of exciting news. So number one, I just got done with a TikTok live with Laura. Her account is foster.parenting, and that's her username on both Instagram and TikTok. And we were doing a live Q&A, and it was super fun. And in a couple of weeks, she's actually going to be coming on the channel, and we're going to be doing a YouTube live. We're also figuring out how to live stream it on Instagram as well, so you have two options of viewing. So definitely be on the lookout for those details. And the other bit of news I can't exactly share just yet, but I've been working on a project for the last few months. What can I say about it? Let's just say that the Be the Village community is starting to come together. Now back to the topic. And this is a story that I've shared before, so I'm going to try to keep it kind of brief, but you guys know how I like to talk, and I kind of ramble on, so bear with me. John and I both come from different backgrounds, but we both felt strongly about being a foster family in our future. So this was a conversation that we had either while we were dating or when we were engaged, but we started to have those conversations early on. My aunt and uncle were a foster family, and so honestly, I was really drawn to how open and loving and nurturing and supportive their home was. I mean, they were always just an open door. And it wasn't just the kids who were currently in their care. I mean, we were talking about kids who would return home, or maybe they are aged out and they would always come back. And that sense of like extended informal family, that just really resonated with me. And as I got older, I realized what foster care actually was and what the needs were for the kids and the families. So it was definitely something that I wanted to look more into as I got older. John, on the other hand, has shared his story, which is essentially his extended family. He's witnessed some addiction, substance abuse, and he has seen what the impact is on his family and the kids specifically. And that's not to say that those kids ended up in foster care, but some of them were in informal kinship, which means, you know, basically a aunt or an uncle or a grandparent steps in and cares for the child before any kind of removal situation occurs, which that informal kinship could be a whole nother video talking about that. So really, John was coming from a place of seeing the impact on the kids who are in homes, you know, who are really struggling. And that's where his heart was kind of drawn to, you know, how can we support these kids and their families? And for us, we kind of had this viewpoint that, you know, oh, we would have our family. We would create our nuclear family. And then as our kids were older, maybe getting into like late high school and college, then we would look into being a foster family. And in retrospect, I mean, obviously that was a very twisted way of thinking about things. But I had heard about this show, This Is Us, and I'm still embarrassed to talk about kind of really what gave us that push into doing it when we did, because it was a TV show. It was a portrayal of a foster care storyline, and it was done so beautifully that it sparked the conversation again. And John and I had just moved into our home, our new home at the time that was built, and we had space. We had Darcy at the time. She was probably 18 months to 2 years old. And we just realized that we had the space in our home, the space in our hearts. We felt like we were financially secure enough, and we wanted to explore it. And the big question that we were asking ourselves is, why not? It wasn't a matter of why now, it's why not now? There was nothing that was holding us back. And the reality was that in our area, there was a strong need for foster families, or at least that's what we were hearing. So that's really what kind of jump-started our fostering journey. For us in the state of Ohio, it started with our foster care pre-service training. So you you go through this whole curriculum. And to be fair, it's not really training you on how to be a foster caregiver. It's more so informing you and setting expectations. And that's what my experience was. Of course, there are things in there that are very important to know as a caregiver, but the day-to-day and all of that, you kind of have to learn as you go. And that's part of the reason I started this channel, to share our journey and to help other people see what the process is like. And there were a couple of YouTube channels that I watched all the time, and they really painted a great picture of what to expect and really what their mindset was like, what their, emotions, how they kind of went up and down. And it was a very realistic portrayal. And I appreciated that. And I felt like there needed to be more of that while maintaining privacy and confidentiality of the kids and families in care. So we got through all of that training, and then the next step for us was to fill out the application. And that's the formal document that is basically letting them know, yes, we want to move forward. We want to become licensed foster parents. From there, for us, it was a very, very long wait. There was an issue with staffing, and we had to wait a very, very long time to finally get our home study and our safety audit. And the home study is where they interview you and basically ask all the questions possible to make sure that you are ready and able to care for children. And they also do the home safety audit to make sure that if children are placed with you, is the home safe? Like, do you have a fire extinguisher? Are medicines locked up so that kids can't get a hold of them? This is the more daunting part of, becoming a licensed foster family. And it's something that I'll go into depth again with in a future video. And once we became a licensed foster family, at that point, we were just waiting for placement calls. And for us, we got quite a few placement calls that we said yes to, that ultimately ended up, those children were placed with a different foster family for a number of reasons. While we were getting licensed, I also became pregnant. It was part of our family planning, and it wasn't anything that was going to, kind of switch up things with our fostering. There was a point in time where we realized that, if we didn't get a placement a couple months, 3 months before my due date, it probably would make sense to take a break until after we got established. But things worked out for us. The timeline worked out where we had a placement while I was pregnant. I think I was like 6 or 7 months pregnant. And then they actually moved on before Sawyer came in. And then of course, when Sawyer was 2 months old, Miss A, she was with us for 18 months. Most of Sawyer's life, she still has been a part of Sawyer's life, almost from the beginning. And we've had other placements outside of that as well. So that's our story, kind of like a quick rundown of why we became a foster family, what that process looked like. And this month I will go into detail and answer questions. So please ask them in the comments, any questions that you have regarding, the process or what it's like, different experiences. Please comment below because I'd love to respond to those this month. And if you're watching this video in some way, there's something that is drawing you to foster care. It could just be that you're curious, maybe you're younger and you have a classmate or friend who is experiencing foster care and you're trying to understand what it's like and how you can relate to them and just trying to be empathetic and compassionate for their situation. You might be a caseworker and wanting to know what it's like from the foster caregiver side and ways you can adapt and improve the process to best support not only the kids and their families, but the foster caregivers as well. I know there are foster caregivers out there who are watching this, and I feel like as caregivers, we're kind of isolated sometimes. And so I hope that our videos and our channel, our platform, gives you that sense of community, gives you that sense of you are heard, you are valued, you're not alone. The experiences that we have often mirror each other. So yes, you are definitely not alone through this. And I also know that there are many of you who just want to get involved in whatever way you can. And if that's how you identify, then here's what I'd like to ask you. What is your capacity to support the system of foster care, children, families, caregivers, all of that? Clearly you want to take action. Clearly you want to make a difference. And so what is that going to look like? And I encourage you to just evaluate, what part would you might like to play? You don't have to become a licensed foster caregiver to make a difference. So ask yourself, do you want to have kids placed in your home? Is that going to look like short-term placements, longer-term placements? Sometimes you're not going to know. If that's not something you're ready for yet, maybe step into respite care. That is something we'll talk about again during this month. What is respite care? And, the short version is it provides, the kids a place to stay when the foster caregivers can't watch them. Maybe they're going out of town. Maybe the child has higher needs and they truly need a little bit of a break to recharge and best come back and support them. You can support at group homes, where older children are placed, and some of them might be looking to age out, to go into independent living, and you can be a mentor teaching them life skills. You can be kind of like that big brother, big sister, that support system that they might not have otherwise. You can also look into becoming a CASA. Brittany with Foster the Teens on TikTok and Instagram, she is the expert at all things CASA. It's not an area that I specialize in, but definitely I would look into being a CASA if placing children with you is not something you're looking for, but you want to make a huge difference. CASAs are court-appointed special advocates, and that's kind of a tongue twister to say, but they make a huge difference advocating for the children in the court system. If you have a legal background, you can also look into becoming a guardian ad litem. They actually are an attorney, so there's a differentiation there between a guardian ad litem, a GAL, and a CASA, court-appointed special advocate. You can also find out what organizations are in your area that are taking donations that support primary families, kids in care, foster caregivers, and see what support that they need. Sometimes it's as simple, if you're younger and you want to make a difference and you love social media and you're kind of creative, you want to explore that. Some of these nonprofits need help just getting the word out, getting their Instagram set up, creating a TikTok, basically spreading the word. And so you could volunteer your time doing something like that. That also helps with your resume building, like as a young person looking to explore a certain career. So there are plenty of ways to get involved. If you are looking to specifically become a licensed foster caregiver, your best option is to contact your county. Contact your county. They're going to point you in the direction of, possibly private agencies, private foster care agencies, or if they license directly through that county, you can ask your questions, ask what the process looks like. And I would do your research, figure out, do I want to go directly through the county if that's an option, or do I want to go through a private agency? There are a number of different factors with that decision, including resources, communication. A lot of times there's a lot more direct communication if you're working with the county versus having that middleman of the private agency. But private agencies offer a lot more support. But that's the first place that I would go is go directly to them, ask your questions, go to an information session, start the classes, and see what you think. It's definitely a long process on purpose. They want to make sure that you are committed, that you are in it for the long haul. So really just buckle up and see what's possible. So again, this video kicks off May, which is Foster Care Awareness Month. I wanted to just ground us in what our story looks like and how you can get involved. And I would love to hear what you guys want to hear about throughout this month and past this month, because we know that, yes, it's great to honor and raise awareness during one specific month, but really the work is done throughout the year. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you subscribe and put your notifications on. And if you've been with us for a while, thank you so much for continuing to come back. And with that, I will see you next time. Bye.